As some of you may have noticed here on YouTube, I have slowed down the pace of making videos for a specific purpose since this event with Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of information coming in very, very quickly, and if you react to it in a rushed manner, you're going to end up with egg all over your face, and a lot of people have already. It's very, very apparent that the story coming out of the official story coming out of the Justice Department is complete and total bunk, but there are those who choose to ignore it. But something has shifted, and many people aren't perceiving it. The story has changed. And in this video, I would like to break this down because it goes to psychology after an event, a traumatic, tragic event like this. People start to engage coping mechanisms, and when they do so on a grand scale, like we did back in COVID, the facts get left by the wayside. The realities get left by the wayside. Let me ask you guys a question a minute in here. Do you think Charlie Kirk's ideas will be more or less prevalent going into the next 5 or 10 years than they would have been had this not happened? You see, just like when everything happened with Rush Limbaugh, and now a different situation, the man knew that he was not long for this world, he had cancer, but many thought that when his voice left radio, that conservatism would take a punch, take a hit. Well, the exact opposite has happened. The country's far more conservative now than it was under Rush Limbaugh. Because, pardon me, when the man was alive, the man had faults. The man had an issue with ear problem and got addicted to painkillers and illegally bought painkillers from an illegal maid. The man himself wasn't nearly as much as the idea of the man. And I think that's going to be an issue with Charlie Kirk. Not that he was a bad guy. I didn't know a whole lot about him. I didn't listen to him. Was, God rest his soul, 31 years old. When you're 25 years older than somebody, it's kind of hard to listen to them pontificate about politics, even if you agree with them, because they're speaking to a different generation. But before we get too far into this, as always, God bless everyone who's joined us at Patreon. And breaking news alert, brand new video over there, just published last 24 to 48 hours, where we delve into another aspect of why this story that they're giving us can't be true. The kid on the roof with the rifle who then fires the one shot and then changes clothes, breaks down the rifle, runs across the roof, jumps off the roof, ditches the rifle, then leaves it in a box. All this nonsense. It's just silly. It's a cooked up story, and people are keeping themselves awake at night wondering who. Some people have made up their mind. For them, it's always one group. It's always Israel. It's always the Jews. You know, that's just a type of thinking, a type of fallback, feel-good mechanism that just doesn't work with this. And Rush Limbaugh, in this speech right here, says that he noticed even back then that it felt like Charlie Kirk was running the White House. He even says that in this video. I'll give you the link to it. He says that it seems like Charlie Kirk is running the White House. Now, there are a lot of people who would have a vested interest in something like that going away. However, real quick, if you'd like to join us at Patreon, love to have you over there. We can take the gloves off, so to speak, and talk about things in a very real manner without any real censorship. There's 4 levels over there. McKee Foot Soldiers, Need to Know Roundtable, Unit Commanders, Brigade Commanders. Whatever God puts on your heart, whatever you can afford, I could definitely use it. The only reason there is a YouTube channel right now of any level is because of the Patreon channel that is supporting it. So once again, thank you everyone who's signed up. I'm humbled. It makes all the difference in my life right now. But let's get right to it. How many people out there do you think are playing this game of Insomnia and Jeopardy? We've talked about this before, especially over at Patreon. This gave things that you think about at 3 o'clock in the morning, ways I've screwed up or ways people have wronged me, strange noises, money troubles, or ways the world will end, or, you know, I wonder who it really was that was behind the end of this young man. You can analyze it and analyze it and analyze it till you're blue in the face. But the reality of it is, your subconscious mind does not know the difference between an actual experience that produces an emotion and an emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. Think about that for just a minute. In your subconscious, experiencing something traumatic like this is just as bad as fabricating some level of traumatic experience. You see, I didn't disagree with a lot of what the man said. There's some things he said that I thought were a little, maybe a mistake of youth. But there were people that were emotionally attached to this guy's political positions. I've had conversations with a few, emotionally attached to political positions. There were people who were sad when Rush Limbaugh died. There were people who mourned his passing, many who had never met him. But I didn't see or I didn't hear the visceral reaction. Because the reality is, it wouldn't have mattered if Charlie Kirk died of a wound from some ballistic weapon fired from somebody, whoever, wherever. It wouldn't have mattered whether that or he suffered a brain tumor or a car accident or a plane crash or a heart attack. The part that's the worst part about it is his kids are going to grow up without a dad. There are going to be plenty of people to step in and echo chamber everything this man said. His message didn't die with him, but his ability to be a father to his children did. And to the children, it doesn't matter why dad's gone. And that's the most important thing, is it not? It doesn't matter whether it was, like I said, a car wreck, a heart attack, an assassin's weapon. That doesn't matter. When somebody like that is gone, they're gone. If you were, say, the type of person that wanted to live out in the middle of nowhere, and you were in a tavern like this, that no internet, no Wi-Fi, no nothing, and maybe you had heard people mumble and talk about somebody named Charlie Kirk and their positions, and I came in, sat down, and brought you a mug of ale and said, hey, have you heard of this Charlie Kirk character? He's no longer with us. Well, if you hadn't watched him or you didn't know much about him, you'd be like, oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. Died too young. But when you know the details, it seems like it's worse, and that's the hallmark. That's the hallmark of propaganda. That's what propaganda does. I've talked about, and we talk about it a lot over at the Patreon channel, the idea of what PSYOPs is really all about. For any PSYOP to work, and write this down if you have to. Write this down or make a note of it. For any PSYOP to be effective, the first thing you have to do is get your targets in an emotional state. You can never run an effective PSYOP while people are in their thinking brains, while they're acting and operating logically, which is another funny story about this alleged assassin. Apparently, this guy who was addicted to furry porn and mentally ill, disturbed, trans, all this nonsense, was having a very rational, well thought out, intelligent conversation over text with his partner while he was carrying out this heinous act, allegedly. It kind of, however you tell the lie, it debunks itself. Because if the kid was truly some mentally disturbed, deranged, trans, whatever, he wouldn't have been carrying on a conversation like that. And if he was, that debunks the narrative of those people being mentally deranged. So one way or the other, the argument is bogus. That's how you know it's a lie. Shaping perceptions, driving success. Operations designed to convey selected information and indicators to audiences for the purpose of influencing their emotions, thereby influencing their motives and deleting their objective reasoning. And then ultimately, based on that, the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and individuals. That's what PSYOPs is. How many of you remember me talking about black sails? We talked about it in the context of cryptocurrency, how the story in Black Sails was basically the story of cryptocurrency. How these pirates had a brothel that they had created in the New World in the Bahamas, and they were stealing gold off of Spanish ships and then converting the gold into all sorts of other things that had value and basically money laundering. But the idea that they did it in the context of a brothel, I think, was probably a subtle nod to the idea that when you get somebody in an emotional state, the details don't matter. Like, for example, this guy came into the brothel and he's got his pound of gold and he's found himself a pretty girl and they're going up the stairs. Now, he doesn't care the details about this pretty girl. She could be a blonde, she could be a redhead, brown hair, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. In this particular scene, this guy here, who's getting ready to have a little happy fun time, had spent an hour, this girl over here in the blue way in the back there, kind of watching on. He had spent an hour and a half talking to her, getting to know her, and they went upstairs, and she got cold feet and decided she wanted to do it. Another girl stepped in, didn't bother him one bit. Didn't change a thing at all. The flat earth psyop. You see, even if anyone would decide, you know what, I'm going to be a flat earth believer. I'm going to be a flat earth believer. Does it change anything for anyone, anywhere? Operationally speaking on the ground, does anything change? No. Zero changes. Some people think, oh, what does this have to do with Charlie Kirk? Nothing has changed. The opinions of the people who agreed with Charlie Kirk are now far more in his camp than they were when he was alive. Because every moment he was alive, he might have had the ability to change his mind. He might have had the ability to continue to grow, and maybe that might have bothered some people. But wherever he was on that day, that's where he's going to be forever. So nothing has changed with the Charlie Kirk crowd. Nothing has changed in the Rush Limbaugh crowd. Even though he's gone. Two entirely different circumstances. But the fact that they're both gone changes nothing. Everything this guy has said has been recorded in 4K and high definition and will be available for the next 1,000 years. And I'm sure it'll be replayed over and over and over and over again. And this is the art of PSYOPs. They're trying to make you believe that something has been lost when nothing has been lost. The only thing that has been lost has been the ability of this guy to be a father to his children and a husband to his wife. That's what's been lost. But to most people who are talking about this, that has no relevance in their life. But people believe it does. And that's, folks, that's propaganda 101. That is the art of PSYOPs 101, to make people believe something has happened that hasn't happened, which brings us back to here. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between an actual experience that produces an emotion and an emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. Charlie Kirk, from my understanding, was a Bible-believing Christian. What does the Bible teach? The Bible teaches to follow no man. Billy Graham would have told you, don't follow me. Open your Bible, follow Christ. And I'll bet Charlie Kirk would have said that too. And I'm sure, if he was as much of a Christian as I believe the man to be, that a lot of things going on right now after his death would disturb him. They would disturb him greatly. They would say this, he would say, wait a minute, this isn't how Christians behave. We don't laud people. We don't laud and lift up men. Every single one of Jesus' disciples, save perhaps one, I believe. I'll have to look at the list, but they were all killed. Every one of them. Crucified, stoned, scourged, beaten, Every one of them. But yet, Christianity endures. The ideas endure. As will, the beliefs of this guy. So, knowing this, the only people who would have a vested interest in him being gone would have feared the influence that he may have had in the future, not the ideas that he's already put out. And like I said, it came out of Rush Limbaugh's own lips. I'll give you the link to this video. It said he was there in the White House with Charlie Kirk at one time and said, gosh, it seemed like this guy was running the White House. That's your key. That is your key right there. There are people that know in 3 years things are going to change. And they better secure for themselves power now. Because once Trump is gone, there's going to be a war. Not between the left and the right, but between those on the right vying for that power. And to my mind, this is the first shot in that war. So, anyway, I will leave that there. God bless. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate everyone on Patreon. I wish it were not so. I wish it did not have to be this way, but things have just changed. And we have to roll with the punches, so to speak. So, whatever God puts on your heart, God bless. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos over there, by the way, going back to 2018. And once again, fully refundable first 90 days, no questions asked. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.